What's going on YouTube? Q back here again with another video for you. In today's video, I'm here to review the 2024 Honda Civic, and this is a hatchback, the sport trim. So this vehicle is brought to you today by Honda. Thank you for letting me borrow this for a week to do a review on it. So what we have here is the Civic Sport Trim in Boost Blue. So I think this is the prettiest color that you can get on it. Very loud, vibrant, hard to miss. And then it's got the added practicality of a hatchback. So if you know me, if you've been with the channel for a minute, you know that I own an Integra. So this is basically the Honda version of what an Integra would be, because this also comes in the sedan as well. But we got the Sportback, so this adds some more practicality. And then the sport trim, so I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit here. But just taking a walk around, this car looks good. This is an attractive car, aesthetically pleasing. I like what they did with the sport trim. As you can see around here, we got this blacked out grille with the honeycomb inserts in it. So I like the black accents that we got going on in the grille, and even the mirrors on the side. So it looks like Ford kind of bit off Honda with the dark horse, because you can see around the headlights we got the black trim that's not body, it's not metal, so it's plastic, but it still looks good. So look like Honda's being a pioneer in that aspect. We got the black 18-inch wheels as well. And this vehicle, so being an Integra Type S owner, I am thoroughly impressed, but we'll get into all of my impressions in just a moment here. But before we do, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, browse the channel. Let's jump into it. Once again, shout out to Honda for letting me get this vehicle for the week. And also shout out to the Men of Culture. We got Race Car Friends, who also has a Civic Type R in Boost Blue. We got 100 Gang Nate, who also has a Civic Type R in Championship White. And then we also have Blueprint 1 LE, who also has a Camaro in the same color as this Boost Blue, but he has it in Rapid Blue. But shout out to those guys. But going forward, so I didn't know Honda had this with a naturally aspirated engine. So we all know Honda with the VTEC, yo. So this has a naturally aspirated 2-liter, and it has 258 horsepower and 138 pound-feet of torque. And don't let that scare you away, because you might think that's too puny, this is too little horsepower, but this thing has ample power. And to be honest, I've driven Civic Si and I've been owning an Integra A-Spec technology package. This feels just as quick as it, and I actually enjoy the power delivery more in this naturally aspirated engine. Let's take a look under the hood real quick. Pop that thing. So we got the prop rod, no struts on here, but this is about as simplistic as you can get on a modern car. So Honda kept it back to the basics with the naturally aspirated engine. And engines are what Honda is known for, because they get the power up top, and when they hit that VTEC, you start to take off. So this is their 2-liter engine. Very lightweight, very compact. This car drives amazingly, and I'm going to get to the driving portion, but let's talk about the features and everything. But my socks were blown off about this car. I did not expect this car to be as fun as it is, as good as it is. And for a price that it's at, it's about $27,400. So don't let the horsepower scare you off, because you can step up to the Sport Touring, and that has the 1.5-liter turbo, and that car has about 180 horsepower. And that car, I haven't driven that trim yet, but I have driven the SI, which has 200 horsepower. But this car feels just as quick, but is not as fast around the corners, because we don't have the sophisticated suspension that car has. But let's focus on the sport trim right now. We're gonna start our way in the rear, work our way up to the front. So looking at the rear, you notice, and I put this in the short, we got the rear wiper on here. As you can tell with the dusty marks on here, it doesn't cover the whole window, but this is just the shape of it. We can only go so far out, and then the radius of the circle coming only so far out, but you can see it when I get the POV on. But I do prefer to have a rear windshield wiper. The Integra doesn't have a rear wiper. I find it extra useful. And then the sport trim here, we got the sport diffuser down here, as you can see down here. And on the touring trim, you get actual exhaust coming out on both ends down there. The exhaust is hidden from down here on the sport trim with the naturally aspirated engine. And we got the diffuser down here, that's pretty nice. And then we got the rear view camera over the license plates. It's not centered, but let's take a look and see what's under this hatch. We have a very spacious lift back in here. Now, I went grocery shopping earlier. It passed the Costco test. I was able to put all my groceries in here. Went to the farmer's market. it just passed with flying colors. Ample space back here, whole lot of space. I was able to get everything that I needed. I actually took some groceries in the house already, but this thing has a deep trunk. It's tall as well. You can stack stuff on top of each other. So this one is not as long as the Integra with the cargo area back here, but it is deeper, and you can stack things taller because this is not as long and low cut as the Integra. It's a taller roof line, as you can see from the side over here. This roof is taller, so it's not as sleek, but it's way more purposeful in that aspect of it. Then we also got our shade over here. If we want to hide what we got from the back window, you can cover it up. And what do we have under here? Spare tire. It's a decent size spare. It doesn't look like a little donut. So if you ever need to pull over, if your tire loses air, you can put your spare tire on there. This is a very decent size. I had cars, SUVs with smaller tires than that, with the sidewall, that is. So yeah, we got an incandescent light over here. And this car is still $27,000. Still can't believe that at this price point, you get so much car for the money. So let's get into the back seat. Got the fuel tank on the left side. Going into the back seat, got the car seat in here, so the family was in here. Everybody fits. Very comfortable, very spacious. This car is very versatile and can do it all. And I am shocked at this price point, you get this much car for this much money. So my daughter sits behind me. Let me move the booster seat over and see if I can fit behind where I sit. Stepping in. Oh, need a little bit more headspace. But I fit behind where I sit at my natural seating position. And I got room to spare as well. So I got about 3 inches of room before my knees hit the seat. Comfortable back here. These seats are a little bit more firm, but we'll talk about the front seats in just a moment here. And I got space back here. There are no vents in front of me. And we do have 3 seats in here. So we can fit 3 people in the back. This middle space isn't that big, so I'm 6 feet, so I can fit comfortably behind myself. You can fit 2 adults and maybe a smaller person in the middle. So that's good. Very well to be in the back seat. But it's not a whole lot going on back here. Do we have cup holders? Got one in the door right here. Put a nice big water bottle in there. That's a deep pocket over there. We don't have pockets on the back of the seat. We don't have vents. We don't have USB charging capabilities back here. Like I said, it's pretty simplistic back here. Let's move on up to the front seat. Moving on up. We're not the Jeffersons. We've been up. The front seat. Got these nice cloth seats. We got the design coming down it. Kind of looks like denim. Got a gray stripe going down. I like that. And these seats are very, very comfortable. If you've seen any of my Integra Type S videos, you know I do not like those seats. They're too firm and not supportive. I would much rather have these seats in my Integras. These are very comfortable for daily use, and they're very supportive. These are manual seats, go forwards, backwards. You can use this handle right here to lift it up and lower it down. So the sport trim is more on the base side. So not poverty spec, but we're looking at the base side. So we got a manual recline right here if I lift that up. But coming up front, this car, this is where it's really impressive at. And we got the auto down windows for the front, and you got to hold them up from the rear seats. Mirror controls right there. Got this nice solid door handle. It's plastic, but it feels good to the touch. These Civics come with the adaptive cruise and lane keep assist, which is a form of autonomy. It's probably about level 2, so you can have this car drive itself with your assistance. You got to have your hand on the steering wheel, and it is really good. It is superb on how it handles the road. And then we got some blank buttons over here. Like I said, this is the lower level trim, so not quite poverty spec, but we down there. So you got to step up to the sport touring trim to get all the features and bells and whistles. So that one lines up more with the Integra. This one is more of your simplistic Honda, but it's not just the basic Honda though. And we got this honeycomb grill here. I like the way it goes all the way across here. That's a very nice looking dash. So I wish the Integra had it, but in the Integra, all this is cut off. You just got the functional vents in the Integra. And here, it just looks so good. And then this is the manual. I should have started with that. This is a 6-speed manual. And this shifter is so good. I cannot believe how good this shifter is. I actually want one of these shift knobs. So this fits me really well. The ones that I had in the Integra were kind of long and narrow, but this is more bulky. This fits in my hand much better than the Integra. It is cheaper, but I actually prefer this much better. Then our drive modes. We got Econ mode. We got the auto stop start, the e-brake, and then the brake hold, like a hill start assist. If you were to roll back, the car would catch itself. We do have a USB up here up front. This does have CarPlay, but it is not wireless CarPlay. You have to have a USB cable. So I just purchased one of these so I can see what it's like, and we'll talk about that in just a moment here. And then the passenger seat, just more of the same. Just got one window switch over there for the passenger. Got 2 cup holders. We got storage here. This is where the wireless charger would be if you had a more up-level model than this. Heated seats would go here, but you can't even get the heated seats on the SI trim. I'm not sure about the Sport Touring. We'll revisit that in another video, but that's where the button would be. No heated steering wheel available on this Honda Civic. If you're in Canada, then this doesn't apply to you. You get a lot of heated things in Canada on the Canadian spec. And then we have the center console here, which has a deep pocket. Then again, we have no power outlets in there, but it is quite deep. Can't even see where the bottom is, so that's good for storage area. We got pockets on the seats, passenger and driver. You can put another bottle over there if need be, and miscellaneous items. And let's talk about this infotainment and cluster real quick. So let's crank the car up. So we got 444 miles on here. I like that number. Driven this thing almost a couple hundred miles so far. I will be doing other videos on it, but yeah, it's got a half analog, half digital screen over here. I wish it were fully digital, because I do prefer that. Like other trims of the Civic, you can get the fully digital screen on here, but like I said, this is a lower trim model, so it does have enough information you can display. I love the seating position on the left side, because when my kids are in here, I need to see who's buckled up and who's not. So once I see each seat illuminated with green, I know we're good to take off. And then we do have other options for that as well. I like to keep it on my MTGs. We're averaging 26 miles per gallon, but I always take about 1 off, so about 25. And this car is still being broken in, so it'll get better as the time progresses. So the MPGs in here are 26 miles per gallon in the city, 36 on the highway, and 29 combined. We're doing slightly below city, and that's mainly what we have been driving city. Plus we did some takeoffs just to see how the power is, and then as the engine breaks in, it'll get better. These first couple tanks on here, on my Integra, they were pretty bad, but they get better as you break it in. So even though I have no device connected, can't play the audio for you all, I do really enjoy this base level audio system. It's got 8 speakers, and this sounds really good. It sounds better than some of the other up level systems that I have heard that's branded by JBL, but this is a really good system. Like the way I determine a good system, I like to drive with the windows down, audio up. If it's distorted, I really don't like it. But as it is in here, I really like it. The bass is punchy, the treble is crisp, and I can hear it. It has the volume and it doesn't sound distorted. So this is a really good base level audio system. Speaking of this cluster up here, you control it by these thumb wheels on the steering wheel right here. So I can change that. If I press this home button right here, I can change what's on there. If I want to see speed and time, I can do that. If I want to go back, press the home button. I can change this to multiple different things. Driver attention. When you're on road trips, it's like, hey, you need to wake up and pay attention. You're swerving all over the place. This is actually very accurate. If you're not paying attention, it will catch you, and it's very helpful. Like you need to pull over and rest. Then I just showed you all the seat belts. One thing I don't like is that you have to go to the settings of certain things in the cluster up here. So let me show you all right now. Like if I want to set up the driver assistance features, and there's quite a few of those, I got to do that through this cluster here with just this one button. This can be something that's on the cluster or the radio right here. I feel like that would be much easier just to have it on the touchscreen. I know that's possible because the Integra and the Civic have that. So you have the options menu here, but you can't get those features through the option menu on the radio. You got to go through the cluster. That's something I think that can have an improvement. And this is a 7-inch display. I did notice that the resolution on here is somewhat worse than on the 9-inch display. It's still good. There's not a whole lot that you have to look at from this screen, because I don't know what you guys look at while you're driving, but normally I just connect this cable and hook my phone up to CarPlay, and that's it. I play music or look at my navigation. So in other trims, the screen kind of extends all the way out where this black part is, and this is where your button, you got your back, your home button will be here. But on here, it's still ergonomically friendly. You got the connect button to put on whatever media outlet you have. You have that button here. Connect does the USB with the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You can put it on the radio. You got your phone here. And while you have it connected to Apple CarPlay, you can press the phone button and it'll get you to the phone screen with your contacts in there. As far as the graphics, how I said, like when you switch through screens, it isn't as fluid, but that's something you really shouldn't care about. Because like I said, when you're playing your music, that's all you want, to see what you're playing on your music. Or if you have your maps up, you just want that to be good. And that's all I really need it for, is those two. Speaking of the resolution, I did notice one flaw at nighttime. It's like the white balance is kind of in this upper right hand corner. Once it sees the light, it might not even see a light at all, but I believe it's coming from the map light from the license plate. It kind of leaves a glare on this side of the screen, and that yeah, I don't like that. It needs a higher resolution, or the bulb, the light placement needs to be placed somewhere else, or the screen just needs to be able to handle that bright white. But other than that, it works just perfectly fine. We got our dynamic lines too, and we changed the steering wheel. That's excellent. You can see what you need to do when you're back. I did notice an issue in the morning times. Once I got the morning dew all over the car, I normally just roll my windows down to get that off. But in this car, I don't know if it's this particular one, because this is a pre-production model. This is a 2024. When I rolled the window down, it came back up with the same dew on there, and I waited until it turned into water, and it was still on there. It wasn't frost, it was just water, so I wish that could be better. So with that being said, that's about the most negative that I can say about here. Everything's going to be uphill from this part. This is a very delightful car to own and drive. So let's get an exhaust clip, and then let's get behind the POV so I can take you for a spin. Alright, about to hop in here just before it gets dark. Love these LED headlights, tail lights. This is a very attractive car, and especially at this price point. So it gets my highest recommendation as far as aesthetically pleasing as it gets, functional, how practical it is. This car has the total package. It's down on power, but let me tell you, once we get into these turns, that's where the magic happens. Because this chassis, spoiler alert, this thing is a beast. So let me get up in here. That's how you lock and unlock it. Put my hand over here. Once you got the key in your pocket, you can get in to this comfortable interior. All right, let's crank it up. Honda. All the lights that you'll never see on here, because you're not about to have all these problems. This is a Honda, they're reliable. Turn our e-brake off, which is this flick of a switch right here. We don't have the drive modes in here. You got to go to a different trim level, a higher trim level if you want those. So the clutch pedal in here is quite light. It doesn't travel that far, and I like my clutches to be quite longer, but it's still a good feeling clutch. The steering is light, and this shifter is amazing. Let's hit the road real quick. So we're about to get on some uneven pavement right here, because this is what y'all gonna be driving on. Everything's not gonna be all pieces and cream. We're gonna get on some rough pavement. So let me let y'all see what that's like. Soaks up the bumps quite well. This is really rough. It handles it like, this can be jarring in other cars, but on this specific Honda Civic right here, it takes it up really well. Let's go on the other side where it's even worse. Turning radius could be a little bit better. Shifter slick. It's very compliant, composed, it handles it. I like it. And the shifter, this is one of the best shifters I've ever driven. This shifter and this trim in particular feels amazing. Merging in this traffic, it gets up, you gotta wind it out. Power, the torque really hits around 4,300 RPM. That's when you can really feel it kick you in the back of the seat. So you gotta wind it out really well. Really rewarding when you do so. I actually prefer to rev out and feel my power as opposed to just having power as soon as you get on it. Just feel really good. Rev match downshift to second. It's so smooth. It's really, this is a great shifter. This is the perfect combo, especially in the daily. The clutch is on the lighter side, but if you want a more sporty clutch, then you step up to the sporty trims of this car. You know what you gotta pay. But this is really, really good. and the steering is comfortable. If you want those different driving modes with the steering, you got to step up to a different trim. But it is on the light side, got to be honest about that. One thing I don't like when the auto stop-start is off or when it's active, let me turn it off right now, that shift in the first gear feels too sloppy. Feels like BMW. That's because the car is essentially off, and you really can't. It just slops in the first gear. When you turn it off, it doesn't do that. So I always turn that off. Like, you might save a couple miles per gallon, but I'd rather have my shifting as smooth as possible all the time. And this thing handles curves like a dream. It's where the car shines at in the turns. This chassis is sublime. This is probably the best front-wheel drive chassis ever made. This car handles a lot of curves, and that's why this car is so fun. Even with just 158 horsepower, you can still have fun in this car on a day-to-day basis, and nobody know that you're breaking laws because you're not doing too much, and the chassis can handle it. This is a very fun chassis, very lively. Honda knocked it out the park with this chassis. So this climate control, it's just single. You got your temperature on the left side. In the middle, you got your fan speed. On the right side, you have your drive modes, or not your drive modes, your fan modes. If you want it up top, on the bottom, or top and bottom. Oh, and then I just keep mine in auto because that does the job. I just set it and forget it. It does its thing. Unless I need defrost, front and rear, I'll do that. And then staying the rear wiper, gotta love that, need that. So when you're driving around normally on smooth pavement, it is really good. I don't understand why people complain about road noise in here, because it's not a problem to me, especially when you're gonna have music on anyways. And the visibility looking outward is excellent on here until you get back to those C-pillars where it's got that little small window. But by that time, set your mirrors, you know what you're doing, and you got enough visibility to look out the back window and the back hatch. This car is super practical, guys. These gauges are super clear, easy to read, just white on black, very simplistic. I like to keep it on my fuel economy on the left, my trip meter, so I know when to fill up. We got the gas at the bottom. If you look above the speedometer, or what speed I'm doing, you can see a little green line, and I'm assuming that once I get heavy into it, the greener it is, the better I'm doing on fuel economy. So it's kind of a reminder, like, hey, when you don't see that, like, you're not getting good MPGs, but when you do, it's like, hey, you're doing a good job there, saving the environment. Good for you. So you want to know what's the best thing about this Civic as opposed to the other vehicles that I've driven like this? This car has no rev hang. That was one of my biggest gripes about the 1.5 liter in the Integra. The rev hang kind of killed the joy of shifting in there. You had to pause before you made an upshift. And here, you just upshift, and boom, you just ready to go. That's how it should be. And I really enjoy that in this vehicle. It's really good that you don't have to have that. So I'm assuming that's going to be only for the naturally aspirated version of this 2-liter inline 4, no turbo. So no rev hang is great. I prefer that. I prefer this engine over the 1.5 liters. Let me just throw that out there. I like it. This car isn't going to have your blind spot monitoring and your side mirrors, but it does have other safety features. As far as like your forward collision warning, it'll flash at you where you're getting too close to somebody, about to rear end them. So we take it to red line. There's no slouch at all. That easy, we're at highway speeds. Like I said, this car knocked my socks off. It really impressed me how good it is. I said it before, I'll say it again. Like, I enjoy driving slower cars fast than fast cars slow. This is just an enjoyment that you get out of it. When you can use 10 out of 10 of the vehicle, what it's built for, it is no better joy. Driving it at its limits. Being able to approach the limits. Like, get passed by a car, the Corvette. On the highway, it's super comfy. I do hear some of the wind noise coming by, but let me show you all the lane keep assist. It'll virtually drive itself. It'll keep on this lane. Now, you do have to have your hand on the steering wheel for it to stay active, because if you don't, it'll just shut off, which is pretty terrible. But yeah, it just drives itself. And I got the cruise control as well, so this should have adaptive cruise control. I haven't played with the adaptive part of it because I normally don't drive with that on in my city, but it'll hold the line for you. And there it goes beeping to put my hand on the steering wheel. This is excellent. It's not jerky. It's very smooth. Watch how they handle the curve, keep you perfectly centered in between the lines. Just so smooth. It's really good. And I'm shocked. This is on a $27,000 car. This is what I perceive to be a high dollar car feature, but it is so good on here. Like, I can't stress that enough. Let's drop a couple gears. Like I said, this is a very slick shifter. I'm so impressed with this shifter. Like, this shifter is so good. Let's drop down to third so we can get in that power band, which is at 4,300 RPM, where the power of the torque is at its best. And it'll push you back in the seat, surprisingly. Like, I'm shocked. Now, the speed doesn't climb that high, but you don't need, we're already doing enough speed right now, so I'm not going to get too giddy in it. And then 6th gear, that's our overdrive gear. We're cruising, averaging like 50 miles a gallon right now. Let me turn my lane keep assist off, because I normally don't drive with that. I like to enjoy the driving, especially when we're about to do some curves. Just coming right up, about to exit the freeway, drop a couple gears. And this thing's about to handle like a champ on this curve up here. Recommended speed 25. We can do more than that. Drop it down. One more gear. So we're farther than capable of doing that. This chassis is that good. So that's approaching the limit. Like, these tires not gonna handle more. The chassis can handle more speed. Don't know about the tires. But yeah, we can double the recommended speed on that arm ramp. But yeah, chassis is where the magic happens. This car's got so much good going about it. Every feature that you need on the daily vehicle, it's at a very cheap price point. And it's crazy that I'm saying this as a car that's $27,000, because I'm used to cars being like, you buy a Mustang at $27,000 at one point. But now, this is where your good family car is going to be. If you need to seat at least 4 adult-sized people, this is a great car, especially at this price point. Honda does a good job of ergonomically packing their vehicles to where you can get actual people and actual things. The engines are always good. The driving experience is great. The shifting, this car, man, this shifter is so good. I didn't think they would have these great shifters on the lower end cars, but man, maybe that's just what the sport is all about. I'm thoroughly impressed with this. And I get to drive it for a few more days, I'm about to enjoy it. So quiet on smooth roads. What more to say? What more can I say about it? I'd like to give a huge shout out to Honda. Thank you all for lending me this vehicle for the week so I can test and get my thoughts on it. Because it's good to test the higher end model trims, but it's also good to go back to where the average customer, your normal customer, will be spending, the volume sales model. And this car is their best selling car, aside from like the HRV, the Honda Civic. That's what this is their volume seller. And this just handling these turns up in here, man. Dang. Chassis magic. I don't know what they did to these cars, man. This car does not behave like front wheel drive cars normally, or what you would expect from a front wheel drive car. The brakes feel good as well. Like, the brakes are smooth and progressive, so I really like the brakes on here as well. This is a well thought out, well put together car. Entering the highway one more time as we bring this video to a close. Like, this car proves that you don't have to spend a ton of money or have a ton of horsepower to have fun in your normal day-to-day commuter. And this car gets up. It's so rewarding just to rev out. Give it a try. I'm dropping gear because I need to cut across all these lanes just because they closed my exit right there. But Honda, they did their thing on this Civic. Oh, somebody getting over. Bad driving. Hope you all enjoyed today's video with the Civic Sport Hatchback. And this is coming from an Integra owner. I've owned the A-Spec and I own the Type S right now. And this car has some big shoes to fill. And my goodness, if you're an enthusiast, this is the one to get. If you're on the budget, buy this car. 'Cause I don't think there's much else in this class that's as practical as comfortable, as roomy, as sporty as this right here. So the only other vehicle I can think of that you might even consider is the Mazda 3. Other than that, in this class, man, this is the way to go. This gives my top recommendation right here. So drop a comment, let me know what you think about the Civic behind me. Would you be interested in one of these? So I know this car is marketed towards those. If this is your first car purchase, this will be one of the cars to get. So with the average transaction price of a car being near 50, it's probably over 50,000 right now. This car coming at 27,000, this is the bargain. The naturally aspirated, love the way this thing drives, love the way it pulls. This is a great package, and I'm shocked, man, this car is half the price of my Integra Type S. What am I doing? But drop a comment, let me know what you think. With that, it's Q checking out. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, browse the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out.